Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Kingdom Connections. This is Alan Williams, and I'm joined by my infamous sidekick, Tyler Bowles. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing well, sir. Hope you are.
Oh, man, doing great. Looking forward to spring, my friend.
Oh, come on, man. It was just, it was a little bit of snow. It wasn't even what everybody was calling for. So.
Yeah, it's not just the snow. I think I'm just over the cold in general, I think. I mean, not that I'm ready for summer, but, you know.
Yeah,
I love spring.
I understand that too.
Bring on a little warmer weather anyway. Or at least a little more consistent, right?
Sure.
Hey, guys, I'm glad you joined us today. And like we say all the time, you know, if you like what you're hearing, let us know. Share it with somebody. Tell somebody about it. You know, your word means a lot to us. And just get it out there. Amen?
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you said that because we've actually had really good engagement. I know we were talking before we had started recording this. So I started doing the YouTube shorts and everything. Mm-hmm. And I know the podcast combined with the YouTube shorts, and I've got them to where they're coming out every day. With what we've got so far, along with the actual podcast episodes, and this is YouTube alone. I'm not counting Facebook, Spotify, none of that. It has reached over 2,000 views.
Wow.
And a lot of traffic is moving over to the full-length episodes.
All right.
So, obviously, the video has been working.
That's awesome.
So, as long as it continues to work, then we'll keep working with what we got.
Hey, that's right. Amen. Thanks, guys. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And hopefully, if there's something, you know, we can do for you, pray for you, whatever the case may be, you know, leave us a message or shoot us a line there and, you know, and let us know what we can do for you.
Yeah.
And so we kind of end this together. This is a team thing.
Yeah. Group effort.
That's right. That's right. So today I want to ask you, you know, you have siblings. So
sure.
I want to ask you if you have ever experienced that, Mom, he's copying me.
Oh, yeah.
Or she's copying me.
But in the spirit of total honesty, I was usually the one that was doing the copying.
Yeah, usually, especially when you knew it got under their skin.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the only one that actually enjoyed the game Shadow. So,
right,
yeah.
Right. Well, with that same principle, I guess, on my mind today, I was just thinking, I miss the people embracing, I guess, the uniqueness of originality.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And not saying that people don't, but I just see a lot of comparison, a lot of things. You know what I mean? And in that area of copying, if you will. And I'm careful how I say this because, you know, I know we all have mentors. We all have people that kind of spur us on, or we have those that blaze the trail before us sometimes. But at the same time, I think that we're supposed to bring maybe a uniqueness to what we do. And I feel sometimes that gets lost. You know?
Yeah. And honestly, it seems to be a thing the more that, and I know we've talked about this in the past, the more that the church gets in the social media spotlight.
Right.
Because, and the reason I say that, so 20, 30 years ago, about all you had was who was on TV.
Right.
And now Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these other platforms have, and I'm thankful because it's allowed the church to get across the entire world, right? But it also, in a sense, it creates a sense of fame.
Mm-hmm.
And you're exposed to a lot more. You're exposed to a lot more ministers and things like that, which is great.
Right.
But with everything, the enemy always tries to do something to tarnish that in some way.
Right.
And I have noticed that there's a lot of people who they look up to somebody so much that they like verbatim would copy sermons.
Right.
And not to get too far off on that tangent, but I will say there is nothing wrong with getting inspiration from that sermon and using bits and pieces from it.
Right.
But that also has to be some Holy Spirit inspired things that are bubbling in your spirit along with what it is that you've heard. Because I'll be the first to tell you, I do mix and match. I don't full on copy a sermon.
No, right.
But in some way, shape, or fashion, even the people that you listen to on a regular basis, they've done it too.
Oh yeah,
because everybody's heard it from somewhere in some way. And just like we were talking a couple episodes ago, something that you said in one of your sermons got my wheels turning, right? That everybody has those moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be a very slippery slope. So I see it a lot.
Right.
I see it a lot.
Absolutely. Well, and again, we are uniquely made. There's no two of us. There may be a close, but there's no two of us. So with that being said, I think that in an effort to hide sometimes our uniqueness, maybe it's the enemy has told you that you're not good enough, or somebody has told you you're not good enough, or whatever. For whatever reason, I think sometimes we lurk in shadows when God has called us to be who we are.
Sure.
And now, grant you, we're to follow Him. But yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I've done the same thing as far as, you take pointers from whether it's a musician or a minister. I listen to several that inspire me. And it's funny because a lot of times when God has placed something on my heart, it seems like everywhere I turn, somebody is talking about it. Yeah. So you can't help but take bits and pieces from that and go back and say, hey, let me see where this leads. Let me see where that leads. But I think that, I think we got to get out of our head that we have to dress like somebody. We have to do this like somebody. We have to, we're not qualified if we don't do it like this, or we don't, you know what I mean? I hope I'm making sense with this, but I just, I know for a fact that me personally, I've had that fight in my life where I felt like I've had to please somebody, and the only way to do that was to bury me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and you'll find, or at least in my experience, that in doing that, it only makes the situation worse.
Right.
Because I can't be you and you can't be me. No matter how hard we try,
right,
we can't be anybody but ourselves.
Right. Right.
And there has to be, and that's how we're designed.
Mm-hmm.
If God had everybody walking around looking like Tyler Bowles, this world would look very odd. And would operate very odd,
Right.
But that's part of the beauty in creation,
right?
Is everything, even down to your thumbprint,
right?
Everybody is different,
right?
And we are designed that way. And I think that also can stem into identity crisis issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know who they are because they're trying so hard to be somebody that they're not.
Right.
They're not wired up that way.
Mm-hmm.
That is not how God intended for them to be. But because they're striving so hard to please a person or a group of people or whatever the case is,
right,
they lose sense of who they really are and who God has called them to be.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and there's no doubt there's an identity crisis, right? We've talked about that many times, whether on here or behind the pulpit, whatever. I mean, and I believe that's what spurs it a lot of times. I mean, I've talked to people who all of a sudden believe a certain way, but when you ask them why, well, so-and-so,
it's conditioning.
Right. And a lot of that comes back to, like you said, social media. I mean, if I put that stuff in front of my, whether it's something wrong, something whatever, a certain agenda or a certain viewpoint on something, if I put that, everybody in that same category in front of my face all day long, then eventually that's, it's going to rub off to the point that I'm believing something and don't even really realize why I believe it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So funny story. This was when I was in high school. Let me not pull my headphones off. Hang on one second. Okay. There we go. That's better. So when I was in high school, I remember it was around election time. My senior year was the 2016 election. And I remember there was a group of friends of mine, like we were all sitting in a parking lot one day and we're just talking about politics. Why high school kids are talking about politics, I don't know. Different story for a different day.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I remember somebody asked me, well, why do you believe that way?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell them.
Right.
Other than, it's what I heard at home.
Right.
And from that point forward, I was like, probably need to think for myself, speak for myself,
mm-hmm.
And not be such just a repetitive imitating,
right?
Because you do it without thinking about it,
right?
everybody's conditioned in some way, shape, or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was a huge learning experience for me because I
Right.
felt like an absolute idiot.
Right. Well, and we've all had those moments.
Yeah.
And I think that too, as I grew, as I was young and I was growing up, my mom and my dad, they instilled some things in me, whether I knew why or not. I'm not casting stones at that, because they were training me in the way that I should go. And so, but there come a point in my life I had to know why I did what I did,
Sure.
not just because mom and dad did it.
Sure.
I had to know for myself. It's like this walk with God. I had to know for myself, and find my own place in what God wanted me to do. Because I mean, coming up, man, everybody had an opinion on you should do this or you should do that, and they mean well. They really mean well. But I had to break off and find who I was.
Yeah.
And I think so many people, they go down that trap, whether it's following somebody or just because somebody else said to do it, and they're doing something that they were not created to do.
Yeah.
And I found myself there. I'm not throwing stones. I'm just saying that can happen sometimes, and just copying. And I'm learning. I still struggle, I'll be honest with you, of embracing my uniqueness. There's, I think, well, why can't I do it like so-and-so, or why can't I be like this, or why can't I struggle with that a lot, and I've always struggled. It's no secret. I've said it on here, but I've always struggled with my self-esteem and things like that over the years. I thank God with his grace and his mercy and his help, I'm better than I was, but to sit here and tell you that I never struggle with it anymore, I would be lying.
Yeah. Well, and I adopted this mindset a few years ago, and it's kind of one of those things that when I first heard it, it hurt, but the more I adapted to it, the more it actually helped. And I don't even remember where I heard it from, but so somebody had said one time, regardless of what you were doing, there's somebody who is always better than you. They're always faster than you. You just have to come to terms with that and be the best you that you can be.
Right.
And that is so true.
Right.
Because when you reach the point where you feel like you're at the top of the food chain, so to speak,
right,
that's when you start falling off.
Oh yeah.
But it's also a flip side, because you've got that end of it, but then you've also got the people who were like me, where honestly I heard that and it hurt. Because I know I'm trying so hard to do something, to do better, whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm striving to be like this person because they motivated me.
Right.
But you're never going to get to the same exact level that they get to. And the reason I say that is because if they're a human being, which I assume they are also going to continue progressing in whatever it is that they inspired you to do.
Right.
So they're going to continue to develop and grow along with you. And so there's always going to be that mismatch.
Right.
I can't. So I've been preaching for, I'm trying to think, about 8 years now.
Awesome.
That being said, there are some ministers I look up to who have been doing this for 28 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you've got that. Sure. I want to, it motivated me. I study these people's sermons because of how much I learned from them. But for me to think that if I would, do exactly what they do, take their sermon notes, wear the same clothes that they do, because people do that, wear the same clothes that they do, walk around the pulpit the way that they do, somehow, some way, I will get the anointing to be able to preach the same message in the same way, in the same light that they did. And I'm here to tell you, it will not happen.
Right.
You want to know how I know? I've done it.
Right.
I have done it.
Right.
And it took a few times, and I say that loosely. It's more than a few. It took a few times of falling flat on my face to go, didn't work like I thought it would.
Oh, yeah.
And I finally just had the resolve, hey, I'm still going to study these people's material. I still learn from them. I will still incorporate them with my stuff. Yeah. Because what's the point of, like we talked about before, what's the point of learning it if you don't apply it?
Right.
I'm still going to do that, but I'm not going to go as far as I want to sound like them. I'm going to do the same pauses and phrases as they do, or how they deliver a line, whatever it is.
Right.
I'm just going to be me.
Yeah.
And I have found that when I'm done preaching or singing or whatever it is, I am a lot more content with how it ended
Right.
than I was if I was trying so hard to be so and so.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I have tried, uh, from the ministry standpoint, I have tried from, behind the pulpit to do things different. And for no other reason than I had seen it working for others. And so what I did is, I changed the way that I was approaching things. I changed the way I prepared for things. I didn't change the word. I didn't change my calling or forfeit that, but I was trying to, well, this looks like a better way. And don't get me wrong, I learned some things along the way that I improved on, but to do it verbatim like somebody else, it wasn't there. It wasn't in me. And I think that others can tell. We might think they can't, but they can tell when we're being real, we're not.
Yes.
And it's not just in ministry, it's in our workplaces. They know if you're real or not. You can go in and do the these and thous and quote the scriptures, but when the rubber hits the road, they know if you're real or not.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing, is just embracing the realness of who you are. Learning, of course, we're constantly learning. And I think we need to surround ourselves, and I say that constantly. These people around here at the House of Hope probably tired of hearing me say it, but you need those accountability people. You need those people that you look up to and that can help you and teach you and absolutely be an example in your life. And we need to be examples to others at the same time. But we also need to encourage them to learn how to operate in that gift that God put in their life in the way that only they can. Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, I could, I don't know that I could ever play the keyboard like you do, but even if I started learning today, my goal should be just to be as good as I can possibly be. Right. And me and you have talked about that before when it comes to music and stuff like that. I mean, even if I go through and I learn the same scales, if I learn how to do the same things, it's going to be different than when you do it.
Yeah.
Or when somebody on YouTube does it, it's going to be a little different because of who I am, just maybe the way I'm built, whether my short fingers or my short arms, whatever, it's going to sound different.
Yeah.
So,
well, and a lot of that in the music perspective, it's a feel thing.
it is.
So me and you can play the same scale, but we feel things differently.
Right.
Especially when you're playing to an actual song.
Mm-hmm.
I may feel a certain way that you don't, so I may take a bass line or a key line in a totally different direction than you would have. And that's what makes it so cool.
Right.
So I went down a YouTube rabbit hole one time, and I encourage you to do this if you haven't done it, because it's awesome. There is a guy, and I cannot remember for the life of me what his name is, but if you look up gospel bassist hires Fiverr clients. So are you familiar with Fiverr?
Seems
so
familiar.
Long story short, it's freelance jobs, right? So like say I go on Fiverr and I go, hey, I need somebody to record a bass line for my track and send it to me.
Okay, no, I'm not familiar with that then. I was thinking something else.
So you've got different ones. You've got like Upwork, I think is one, Fiverr. They're kind of one and the same, but they operate a little different. So with Fiverr, if I'm not mistaken, you actually go and find whatever it is you're looking for. So if you need a bass player, for example, you would type in, bass player, and it'll pop up a bunch of different packages from different people like, hey, I'll record, 10 minutes for this amount of money, whatever.
Right.
Well, he picks different price ranges just to see, like, are people actually putting in the same amount of work that they should be for what they're charging.
Right.
And they'll give them the same exact song file, and they'll go, okay, use your creativity, but I want a bass line for this, like just a quick bass solo for this. And he sends it to like 5 different people. Mm. And the guy himself who's recording the whole thing is also a bass player. So like he'll do his own line. It's like, okay, this is how I felt it should go. And all of them did something different, but it was all in a very unique way, to the point where if you go and you listen to that person's music, you can see little hints of that
Right.
in all of his different pieces. And it was the coolest thing.
Wow.
So the person who only charged $50 did something totally different than the guy that charged $200. Not that it's any better or worse,
Right.
but it just depends on the style you're looking for because people feel things differently.
Right. Right.
So anyhow, I had to go off on that tangent.
No.
So in your free time, if you want to look that up, it's really cool.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
And that's more or less what he goes into is just embracing, I can't play like some of the amazing keyboardists that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I can only play like me, bring what I can to the table.
Right.
And then people will just have to take it or leave it.
Right.
In a sense.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I guess where I was going with this in my head when I was thinking this, because like I said, it hits a personal nerve.
Sure.
Because of, when you live a life that you're not content with yourself, or being yourself, let's put it that way. I'm always working on me, but just being myself, wasn't content with that and felt like I always had to impress. I always had to put on a facade, especially when I was younger. And I think that I still, in my mind, fight that a little bit today. And I guess when it come to my mind, the first thing I wanted to reach out, I just want to kind of reach out to people and say, you know what, it's okay to take that mask down and be you. And, I used to be scared that, well, if they knew the real me, they wouldn't hang out with me. You know what I'm saying? Or if they knew how that I wasn't as good as I say I am, they wouldn't, want to listen to me. And so I think that I ran with that, man, and, that little splinter turned into a massive wound. And you know what I'm saying? It just kept on and kept on. And I realized that when I started off, it was just a little bit. And then as I went, it was like more and more of me was lost in the background. And it wasn't until I got, I was married and with kids that I finally started to come out of that a little bit. And to be honest, it did cost me some folks but I had to be me. You know what I mean? And so I guess I want to encourage people to don't be afraid, to, just let people see who you really are. You know what I'm saying? And good, bad, and ugly. I mean, you know what? If you're my friend, you're my friend. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And you're going to help me through whatever. And so that's like me and you, I don't know if our listeners know, but, you're the one who taught me the bass. I'd been messing around with a guitar halfway, and I say halfway, most of my life, but never had played a bass. And, you kind of helped, get me started that way. And so, that kind of stuff, you can't be afraid to. I didn't get up here and act like I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? I was like, man, you got to show. I don't know. I don't know anything, And so I think sometimes that when we put those facades on, we miss those opportunities to learn something.
Yeah. And in putting those facades on, you also put yourself in a place to, lack of better terms, failure is almost imminent. And
you wear yourself out.
Yes. Yes, you do.
I forgot it. I got to get my game face on.
Well, the Bible talks about, what does it benefit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at the word soul in the Bible, a lot of scholars, they break down the soul into three categories: your mind, your will, and your emotions.
Yeah.
So if you reevaluate that, if you gain the whole world but you lose your mind, your will, your emotions,
that's good.
What are you really gaining? Yeah, you might have people in your circle, but if you're losing your mind because you have no peace in the fact that, because you know what you're doing,
right?
You may be able to fool other people, but you know what you're doing,
right? And
because of that, you're anxious and you're stressed out, so it's messing with your emotions. You can never be fully happy,
right?
Like. And then obviously you're not doing what the Lord has willed you to do, nor are you doing what you even want to do because you're trying to please other people.
Yeah.
So if you gain the whole world and you lose your mind, your will, and your emotions, what are you gaining?
Absolutely.
Not a thing.
Nothing.
And we say this from, I'm sure, mounds of experience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I tell you, one of the worst places that I see it is in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
Like, friends aside, I mean, yeah, that's a huge part of it too. But the biggest thing where I've struggled with it was in the workplace. You know, if you get a new position or say you start a whole new job, at some point you're going to hear about other people that used to work there, and they're going to be like, oh, well, Billy Bob did it this way. And, you know, Sally Sue did that. Well, guess what? I ain't Billy Bob and I ain't Sally Sue.
That's right.
But when I first started working, when I was 16, up until probably, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, before honestly, that was how long I struggled with it. We're in the same boat.
Right.
You know, I tried to be, okay, well, if you know, Billy Bob did this and everybody liked what Billy Bob did, then I'm going to try to do the things that Billy Bob did.
Right.
That sounded like a really weird tongue twister. Anyway.
That was like a Dr. Seuss moment, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But anyway, but that's what I would do, man.
Right.
And I will never be Billy Bob. It won't happen.
Right.
And so, and people are going to let you know one way or another, hey, man, you ain't Billy Bob. Just stop.
I don't know. Billy Bob kind of fits it.
I'm
messing.
But no, that's where I struggle with it a lot. Was in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because you want to be a good employee. You want people to be able to depend on you, which is all great. You should strive to be those things.
Right.
But not at the expense to where you're trying to be like somebody else.
Right. Well, and I don't want to just address the people who are trying to be somebody else. I also want to address the people who hold people to that standard, right? And that happens in the workplace a lot. Okay, the new guys here, new guys come up. Well, he ain't like so-and-so. He doesn't do it like so-and-so. Or they'll remind you, well, so-and-so did it this way and did it this way. Well, guess what? Again, it's not who I am, right? So, you know, do you learn from that and you take things from it? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's going to be different with a different person in that job, in that position. The duties of the job may not change, but the way they do it may very well change. And so I think too that we got to stop doing that too. You know, whether it's to our friends or our family or whatever, holding them to a standard that we know that's not them. Now, I'm not saying not. Please don't take this out of context because there is another side to this, and I don't want people saying, well, you know, you got to hold a standard, because you do. But what I mean is I can't, no matter how great I am, I mean, I can't be Michael Jordan. I could be a great basketball player, but which, you know, I'm not going to be at 5'8" and, you know, got 2 left feet, and then short arms. So, you know, that rim is a long way away from me.
Sure.
But at the same time, no matter how great I am, and it's good to have those guys to look up to, but I can put on the nicest Jordans I can find. I can put on the old Bulls 23 uniform. I'm not going to be him, no matter what I do. I have to be me and just be the best that I can be. But there's a lot of that. I mean, you hear that in the sports world. You hear it everywhere, these comparisons, right, all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's to the point that they don't embrace the greatness of who's in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, and that's where, like in the sports world, that's where you get a lot of your MVPs from, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're looking at 2 people, and then this one person just comes out of left field, and they're like, oh, how come we haven't been looking at this guy?
Absolutely.
You know, so that also being said, use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
You know, sure, you may not be whoever you're being compared to.
Right.
But try to blaze a trail being the best you that you can be, and you'd be surprised the precedent that it sets going forward.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And not to mention it's going to improve your consistency as well.
Right. Right.
Because if you're just trying to be you, whether it's a good day or a bad day, you're going to be you.
Yeah.
And that's all anybody can expect of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's all I can ever want to be, is just the best me I could be. You know, and that's kind of what I want to do. When I finish this race, I want to know that I have been the best version of myself that I could be.
Yeah. Because
that's what he deserves. That's what those around me deserve. And, you know, I think that's where I'm going to be the most beneficial. So,
yeah. Well, closing statements. For me, be the best you can be, and don't let other people try to make you do otherwise. Because even say you go to a new job, let's just use that as an example, but this can be applied in multiple different areas. You go to a new job, and for whatever reason, you do you be the best you can be, but people still say you're never going to be like so and so. It happens. Keep doing you, and if it doesn't work out, I promise you there will be somewhere. There's going to be a company somewhere who's going to go, you know what? I need whatever your name is,
right.
whoever's watching, whoever's listening.
Right.
I need somebody with these qualities. And they're going to want you for you, not who you can imitate, not who you can mimic, but the qualities that you as a person that God has put into you, the qualities that you possess. And that can be in friendships, relationships, those who are in the dating scene looking for a spouse. Don't try to be somebody else, be you.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out, there's going to be somebody who loves you for you, right?
Right.
On the job, in church, I mean, there's so much of that going on in the church world. Just be you, and it will even itself out.
Right. Right. And I just want to close with just reminding you that you might think you're hiding, but the true you will always leak out, and it will always come out at a wrong time.
Yeah.
And so make sure you're building a life based on who you are in Him. Because I know I can do nothing without Him, right? Without God. But at the same time, just being me, because I've experienced that. I mean, and when it finds you out, man, it sends you on a roller coaster, depression and everything else, because people will, you'll see who your true friends are, as the old saying goes, right? Yeah. And so holding that facade up in the end is only going to hurt you. And just copying word for word, that's only going to hurt you. Be unique. Be who you are. Learn from others, but be you.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Well, guys, we're going to end it here. We love you. We appreciate you. Also, just so you can be in the loop with everything, all my YouTube people out there that's watching by way of YouTube, subscribe first off. That's going to be the number one way that this is going to get boosted and so that other people see it. But also there is a little bell icon. Click that joker, because what that's going to do is anytime something is uploaded, whether it's a short, a podcast episode, it is going to send a message to your phone saying, hey, there is a new episode of Kingdom Connections that is airing now, or there is a new short that is on YouTube now. Watch it here. So that way you never miss a short, you never miss a podcast episode.
Stay in the loop.
Yes. Facebook, same thing. Like the House of Hope Worship Center page and also follow it. If you just like it and don't follow, it may not show up in your timeline. You may not get notified. So make sure you do both of those things. Yeah. And Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to, you can follow Kingdom Connections, and it will send you an email or it will send you some notification on your phone to let you know that the new episodes have aired. So anything you want to add to that? Anything you want to address?
No, awesome. I just want to thank you guys. I think we're rolling in the right direction here. And hey, I thank y'all for just taking the time to listen to us. We have these conversations quite regular, and we thought, hey, let's let everybody else hear.
Yeah, just put a microphone up.
Right.
And now some cameras.
So there you go.
All right. Well, guys, we love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you in the next episode. God bless you. Hey guys, real quick before I let you go, this is Worship Pastor Tyler Bowles, and I'm also one of the podcast hosts here. I just want to take a minute to invite you to our services if you're in the Lexington, North Carolina area and you don't already have a home church. We have services on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We have programs in place for all ages, so please bring your family, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, have them bring their kids. We would love to get to meet you and connect with all of you and partner with you and believe with you for the things that you are believing God for. Because something very powerful happens whenever we gather together in one mind with one accord, because the Bible says then a suddenly happens. And I just want to agree with you and bind together with you for the suddenly moments, for those breakthroughs you may need. So if you were in the Lexington, North Carolina area and you don't already have a home church, the address is 117 Harris Road, Lexington, North Carolina, 27292. Again, that is 117 Harris Road, Lexington, North Carolina, 27292. We would love to see you. We would love to see your family. We would love to get to know you. We love you. We appreciate you. We are praying for you. God bless.